Today we got to talk about Danny Stutsman, who becomes the fifth commitment in Oklahoma's 2021 recruiting class. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, let's talk about three-star linebacker Danny Stutsman, who announced earlier this afternoon that he is committed to the Oklahoma Sooners. As I said, becomes the fifth commitment in this 2021 class, joining four-star defensive end Ethan Downs, four-star wide receiver Cody Jackson, three-star offensive tackle Cullen Montgomery, and three-star defensive back Jordan Mooks. Now, this one does not move the needle in the way that many folks expected or wanted to, but it is a nice piece for Oklahoma as Stutsman has steadily improved his play throughout his high school football. As a matter of fact, last year he had 110 tackles out of Fountain Academy in Winter Gardens, Florida. And while he's not highly ranked, he does have all of the tools to be pretty decent. 6'3", 205 pounds. Seems like a chase tackler, a classic will linebacker type of guy. And for Oklahoma to get defensive recruits in the boat, and we need to add there that the last two have been defensive recruits, is not a small thing, especially on the heels of Jansen Dunn flipping his commitment to Ohio State after we thought for an hour that he was headed to Oklahoma. Now, you're not always going to get blue chippers in your recruiting class. 4 and 5 stars are blue chippers, but you are going to get dudes that perhaps wanted to go somewhere else or had an opportunity to go somewhere else. Like Stutsman was very high on Nebraska and Baylor and Oklahoma State, among others. I think that winning him over Nebraska or Baylor should have been simple for Oklahoma, looking at the track record of not just what OU has done in getting the college football playoff and winning the Big 12 championship year after year, but also because you can look at Kenneth Murray Jr. and now say, first-round draft pick, not unlike yourself, who was a 3-star recruit, who was a chase tackler, who blossomed into a player. Now, I'm also interested to see what this means for the defense because at 6'3" and 205, he, for me, is a modern inside linebacker, as I said, but I could also see him being a 4'9" type of guy. And how you make this work in the defense is down the road for me because I view Danny Stutsman as such a project. I don't view him as a ready-made starter from day one. Specifically, at the inside linebacker position, I think that depth chart is going to get a lot deeper over the next couple of years, especially if Deshaun White returns following next year, because you really only use Caleb Kelly if Deshaun White didn't go into the NFL draft. And Brian Asamoah should be coming along, and Robert Barnes, Jamal Morris, those dudes should help you out this year, but also Jamal Morris could blossom into a pretty outstanding linebacker as well. That's kind of where I see Stutsman, right? I could see him backing up the middle, Mike, I could see him backing up the will. Now, for Oklahoma on the whole, this improves your recruiting ranking to not a whole lot better. You're still 45th, 42nd in the rankings and the 247 Sports Composite. You're still just inside the top 50 of rivals. You're not necessarily that much better in ESPN. And this could change, right? This could change if for no other reason than Caleb Williams released his top 3 also around 11 a.m. Central Standard Time today, where he included Oklahoma, of course, LSU, of course, and then Maryland. I like this for a number of reasons. One, you're building some momentum because as we've seen the crystal balls roll in for Caleb Williams, most folks have predicted that he will end up at Oklahoma. But not unlike Eric Young a few years ago, there's nothing wrong with having a build-up and there's nothing wrong with making it look as if other folks are in the race because the thing is LSU also has his eye on Garrett Nussmeier, and because Nussmeier's dad was an offensive analyst there, Nussmeier's dad, Doug, also was an offensive coordinator at Alabama and is the quarterback's coach right now for the Dallas Cowboys. You can see how Ed Orgeron, Scott Linehan, and Steve Ensminger are going to be just fine if they get a Garrett Nussmeier and not a Caleb Williams. Though Caleb Williams is widely cited as the best quarterback in this 2021 class and a top 5 recruit according to some, right? How this shakes out for Maryland is you're the home state, right? And Mike Locksley has pulled a number of rabbits out of the hat, notably Rakeem Jarrett last year in the 2020 class when we all expected him to end up at LSU, but the 5-star wide receiver chose Maryland. We'll see what happens with the quarterback situation there. But as this continues to go and we see Tennessee has basically pulled out all the stops and we've seen that Ohio State is getting who they want and North Carolina continues to build along with Florida, and then Iowa getting into the mix. Every recruit counts, especially heading into a summer where I expect to see a lot of moving and shaking as we come perhaps to the end of a dead period at the end of this month. We're still very early in the month of May. And with the dead period extended through May 31st, it's going to be interesting to see how these conversations still go with virtual visits and to see really whether or not the kids can recruit themselves. Like, I have a conversation that I'm going to post later on with 2021 running back Evan Pryor about not just going to Ohio State, but this idea of perhaps needing to get into the recruiting class at the school that you want because spots are, as we say, drying up, right? And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen a run, particularly at Ohio State and Tennessee here of late. And I think you're going to see more of a run later on, especially at places like Texas A&M that only have 5 in the boat, like Oklahoma only has 5 in the boat. LSU has been steadily building out its boat as well with 7. Texas has 8. As we get closer to August, I expect that number to get closer to 20 for most folks, which means that Ohio State might be well and truly done by September for the most part. I mean, probably like 23, and you might have a couple of spots left for your early signing day period shenanigans, or, you know, a kid that perhaps you always wanted who decides to flip a commitment. All this stuff is going to be interesting to watch because, again, 2020 is an unprecedented year for college football, let alone, you know, the United States, but also an unprecedented year when it comes to how the kids are recruiting themselves, how the coaches are choosing to recruit the kids. I mean, we've had Nick Saban have to get his own email account for the first time in his life, and he made it damn near 70 with that trick. Also, watching him use Instagram Live has just been whatever. But also, we've seen teams take advantage of this time, and we've seen if you're a little bit more tech savvy, Minnesota, and you like talking on the phone and texting on the phone, and you can be in the DMs, you're going to get somewhere pretty quick with the kids because that's where they are as well. I've said many times, maybe you need a Snapchat account. I mean, we saw Lincoln Riley adopt TikTok right before this thing happened where we shut down everything. Now, as we all are communicating via Zoom and FaceTime and things of that, like, it's interesting to see how this goes. So getting Danny Stutsman in the boat is 1 toward 25. That's how I'm looking at it right now. Still want some blue chippers that you're waiting on. Ideally, Caleb Williams, Christian Leary, Mario Williams. And then you still need a couple of running backs to join up here, right? As Kamara Wheaton is still very much on the list, as is Savion Byrd, as is Bryce Foster. Lots of moving and shaking still to be done in this recruiting class. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.